Hello and welcome to the Heal Yourself with me, Sarah Dawkins podcast. We share people who've already healed themselves, along with health and wellness tips from myself. Hello and welcome to another episode of Heal Yourself. My guest today is Maria, who is a unique type of leader who subtly yet powerfully influences others by modeling. In college, she double majored in finance and international business and spent her earliest years working in corporate. Now she is the author of Breaking Into the Light, a journey of self-discovery and transformation, which she wrote after a huge stroke turned her life upside down. After a recovery that lasted years, Maria discovered a food methodology that works, and today she passionately coaches this nutritional program to help others in their own transformation by sharing with them how to reset their relationship with food and thereby dramatically change their life experience. So welcome, Maria.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
Thank you for coming. Now, I've read a little bit of your story. Would you like to share with our audience what you healed and how you healed?
Sure. So when I was 25, I ended up getting really sick from what I thought was food poisoning, right? And I had a massive headache. I got sick. I was vomiting, and I'd eaten shrimp, so I was like, that is the culprit. It was a shrimp. I ended up at the hospital a few hours later, seriously ill, and finally they take me in, do a bunch of tests, and then somebody walks over to me and says, "Miss, we think you're having a stroke." And I thought to myself, well, so much for food poisoning. That was the first thought. But my second thought was, what's a stroke? I was 25. I had never even heard of the word. So within something like 24 hours, I was immobile, totally. And then I lost my speech. So I was mute and totally paralyzed. And this was after I had gotten an operation to bust the clot, where they insert a balloon device through your groin and it goes up your veins and then it busts a clot. And the operation was a success, according to doctors. But to me, it didn't seem like a success because here I am, trapped in my own body. There was nothing I could do. I was, well, to say that word is an understatement. There are no words to describe what that feeling was, right? And I was in that state for, for about 2 weeks before doctors even realized I could hear them and I could see them. They thought I was in a vegetative state. So after they realized I was in my body, it was a very slow recovery that began with moving my index finger about 1 centimeter on my right hand. And then that progressed really slowly. My brother would visit me every day. Actually, my family, they were awesome. Not only did they visit me every day, they were with me around the clock. They made shifts. There's 3 of them, my immediate family, and they would be with me, my mom overnight, my dad in the morning, and then my brother. And my brother would move my limbs every day because I was getting no therapy. I was just staring at 4 walls, actually the ceiling. And so he would move me every day. And thank God that my parents did that, because one night I was moved from the ICU units to a stroke room, a regular room, and I had a ventilator that I was breathing through. but they believed I could breathe on my own. So they put me in a regular room without the breathing apparatus. One night I woke up out of breath, and then I noticed commotion all around me, and all of a sudden, everything went black. And I thought to myself, am I dead? Am I dead? Bless. I was happy. I thought I was dead. I was relieved. But then what seemed like a second and an eternity, I came back to and realized, oh my God, I'm really in this hospital, and this really is my life right now. It was awful. To make a long story a little bit short, then I ended up getting transferred to a different hospital. And this was a rehab hospital. Because I had no frame for what a stroke was, I thought that I would be in this hospital and they would patch me right up. And this would have all just been a bad dream, right? That did not happen, right? I ended up going home in a wheelchair. But the moment I realized that that was wishful thinking was the first day I was there. Second day I was there, I was in therapy. They were giving me therapy 3 hours a day. So the therapist, Erica, walks over to me. She hands me a hairbrush and she says, here, brush your hair. She had placed it in my right hand, which I couldn't move by then. And I was typing. So that's how I communicated. So she hands me this brush. And I think, oh man, this is easy, right? So I grab it, go to put it in my, like on my head. Only got it about here, 6 inches from my head. Could not move the brush anymore. And all of a sudden I started wailing because I realized, wow, the mountain that lay ahead of me. And that's how it was. I ended up going home 2 months after that hospital, the second one. And I went home in a wheelchair. I ended up going home because insurance ran out. That's what happens very often. I was at home. I ended up stopping to use the wheelchair at home just because it didn't fit through into my doorways. So I had to use a walker, which I could not use. But that's how I learned. That's how I learned to use a walker. And I had to use it in the house because there was no other way. My brother was still doing daily therapy on me, coming over every day. I ended up having outpatient therapy for a while I was getting body trained because I had to wear diapers at 25, which was extremely humbling. And this was my life for about 8 years. I did all kinds of treatments. I did hyperbaric oxygen therapy. I did chelation therapy. I went abroad for therapy. I did all kinds of things. Stem cells. I even did stem cells. And when I got to about 10 years post my stroke, I was at maybe 70%. And I thought, okay, this is now my life. I'm just going to live it as best as I can. Right. And I finally decided, well, my life has been about, or these last 10 years rather, have been about chasing health. I did everything I could to get better because I thought, I'm only 25. If I have to live another 50, 60 years, or whatever it is, I cannot stay like this. I need to make some kind of recovery. So finally, after 10 years, I gave all that up and I just started living. It wasn't until 15 years after the stroke that I saw an ad for a nutrition program. And I thought, that sounds cool. And I was interested because I had already been playing with my diet and I'd gone from macrobiotic, pescatarian, I was now vegetarian. So I thought, what the hell? Everything seems to have helped, but I was doing so many things at once that I don't know what was helping. But I think everything was helping a little bit. So anyway, when I found this program, I thought, I'm interested. I'm gonna join. But I never in a million years thought anything would or could change because after all, it had been 15 years post stroke. I had plateaued probably 5 or 7 years earlier. So never in a million years did I think anything further was possible. Well, within 6 months of the beginning of the program is 3 months long, and then I continued living the principles I learned. Within 6 months, I had recovered another 20%. 20%! And I got my life back. I finally got my life back. But I had spent years and years looking for.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. And I'm sure from what you're saying, you must have felt like, well, that's it. This is my new life. There is no more recovery, no chance of recovery, and that's why you got on with your life. And then to find the answer in nutrition and regain 20% more, you just must have been in heaven.
Yep, I was in heaven, but part of me was pissed off because I thought, man, if I had known this when I first had the stroke, I wouldn't have had to suffer all that time. I would have recovered so much faster and probably even better. I wouldn't have this sexy voice.
I love your sexy voice.
Thank you.
It makes you uniquely Maria. Wow, what an amazing story, Maria. That to go through all those different treatments as well and trial all those different ways of healing, and then finally realize that it was nutrition. That even though you'd gone through different diets and different eating plans, that you found a way through food to heal. I mean, that is incredible.
I was amazed. I was actually blown away. And I thought, what is this sorcery? I thought it was sorcery. I couldn't believe it.
And yet, if you ask doctors if nutrition can help us to heal, the majority of them say no. And I worked on a cardiac ward, and basically it was, you can't have butter anymore, you've got to have margarine. And that was like the extent of the dietary advice, really.
Right. And I was following all the guidelines. I was following the food pyramid. I was a runner. I was doing everything right. So I thought that was it. I mean, I've done all I can do with diet.
Yeah. And there's so much more outside the medical model, isn't there? And you've tried many of them, but for you, it was nutrition that was the key. What an amazing story. But I think sometimes we can live with regret. Oh, I wish I'd found this so much earlier so I didn't have to go through what I've been through. But actually, I think our experiences help us to help others. And because we've experienced that for such long periods, we're able to share our experiences of how to get through those periods.
Yes, I agree with that. That's a good way to look at it. And I do look at it that way. But I just want to stress that I didn't have to suffer. Right? All I see the suffering as like my path to helping people.
Yeah. And I believe we have to go through what we have to go through to get to where we're going on our own individual path. And I've come to realize now with age and possibly wisdom that actually it's not about the final destination. It's about the journey that we traverse to get there. And it's about understanding and enjoying every moment of our journey, because if we focus on that destination, we miss all of this. And suddenly we wake up one day and we're old. And we've missed this because we're looking for that destination. So I love that you decided to live your life and stop healing, in inverted commas, because we can get stuck in healing and be forever chasing healing and forget to live our lives. And healing can almost be as bad as being sick or having symptoms, because we're stuck in that mode, and we need to step outside of that and live our lives the best that we can with whatever is happening in our lives.
Yeah, and I was definitely stuck in that. I felt like I was somehow broken, that I wasn't worthy, and so I needed to be whole or healthy in order to be worthy.
And a lot of us can relate to that we feel broken. We don't feel whole because we've got symptoms. We feel we're lacking in something, which pulls on our self-worth. And then when we don't feel worthy, we don't feel worthy of healing either, as well as not feeling worthy in life in general. So that's the whole downward spiral, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a hamster wheel.
Yeah, but I also believe in divine timing, and things will come and flow when they're meant to. And until then, we just have to kind of flow with life. And I think as well, if we can give up, if we can surrender and stop resisting, it makes our life easier. But that's a whole lesson in itself, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's a huge lesson, but a very good one. Very valuable.
Yeah. Thank you, Maria. And if you could share one tip with somebody who's been through a stroke or is healing or still has symptoms of a stroke, what's something that they could do today to help themselves?
Well, I would say a number of things. First of all, hydration. And I know we say that's ad nauseum, but we're really walking around totally dehydrated and do not even realize it. It's so important. Hydration, number one. If you just had a stroke, get as much movement as you can. Because I believe that the early movement was a huge part of my recovery. And then pay attention to your diet. I mean, what healed me, where I found the healing in nutrition, was I was doing a very clean version of keto. Very clean. And then later that progressed more into animal-based eating. But where I noticed the biggest difference was when my body was in ketosis.
Yeah, because it heals when we're in ketosis, doesn't it? Yeah. Thank you. And where can people find you?
So my web address is genuinelymaria.com. That's genuinelymaria.com. I'm not in social media too often. Maybe that might change because I understand its value, but I also have a bit of an allergy to it. So for now, just the best place is my website. And I offer complimentary discovery calls for anybody who's interested in hearing more.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing your healing from stroke, Maria.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening. Please share this podcast with anyone who you think will benefit. And can you leave me a review wherever you've listened to it to help me reach more people? Thank you.